In this video, I wanted to share with you all the tech that I use for my small business in case it can be helpful to you. Hi friends, welcome back to my channel. My name is Evie, I'm a wildlife artist and I run a small business from home. I started my business in 2018, so I've accumulated my tech like throughout those years. If you're starting out now or you recently started out, don't feel like you have to invest in all these things up front. You do not need all of this to get started. As I go through the different things that I use, I'm also going to tell you when in my small business journey that I got them. Everything I mentioned in this video will be linked below, and if I do have a discount code, I will put that in there as well. Let's have a looky. First, let's talk about my computers because they are, in essence, like the core of everything I do. I am predominantly a digital artist, but even if I wasn't, I would still be using my computers for a lot of things, like creating product design documents for my products or working on my website, all these different things. My main computer that I use like on my desk where you frequently see me working is a Geekom mini PC. I love these computers. They are tiny but so powerful. A drawback is that they can be a little bit noisy, but other than that, I've never had any issue with them. I paint digitally and sculpt in like very high resolution, and so my computer has to be able to handle a lot. They go through a lot. I swapped to Geekom from an iMac about a year ago and I'm so happy I did. I'm a Windows girl. The reason I also love the mini PC is that I want my computers to be tiny, because when you run a small business and you have a lot of product, space is at a premium. So I need my computers to take up as little space as possible but give me the most power possible. For packing and shipping products, I actually use a different computer that I have over at my packing station, and that is a Lenovo laptop. It's got an NVIDIA graphics card and I think I paid around £350 for it at the time of purchase about 2 years ago. It's a powerful little dude and I highly recommend it. One thing I really love about Lenovo laptops specifically, and mine is the ThinkPad, is that they have really nice and soft keyboards. By the way, if you want a more powerful laptop as well to handle like all your graphics and things like that, I recommend Asus Republic of Gamer laptops. I started my business with a Asus Republic of Gamer laptop. It was massive, it was super heavy, but it did its job. It had an NVIDIA graphics card, it had a solid state drive. I got it in 2014 and it served me amazingly until 2020. That's 6 years. So the computers I use for everything, but when it comes to tech that I use specifically for making art, I have two very specific drawing tablets that I use and I absolutely love them. Number one is the iPad Pro 12.9 inch. I know that a lot of people prefer the smaller ones, but I like having as big of a canvas as possible. I use the iPad Pro in combination with the Apple Pencil, and I will say, although the newer iPad Pros and the newer iPad Pencils have certain features that are very handy, the original iPad Pros and the Apple Pencil Gen 1 also work really well. You don't need the newest versions. I've just kind of had a natural progression of updating mine as they die. But if you are on a budget and you want to buy the earlier versions used at like a lower price, as long as they work, you should be totally fine with that. The second drawing tablet that I use is a Huion, and I used to have a Wacom Cintiq. I loved it, but it's just so big and bulky. I cannot fit it at my desk, which is a shame because it is an amazing drawing tablet. Having said that, the Huion is also very good and it does take up a lot less space. I do prefer drawing on my iPad, but if I do have to make something on my computer, say if I'm painting in Krita or I'm doing vector art for some of my enamel pins, then my Huion is my best friend. A third device that I use for making art is actually a Fomemo pocket printer, and I use the M02 Pro. If you're keeping a diary, a bullet journal, a junk journal, or a memory sketchbook like me, it's just really fun to be able to take photos or print out your doodles and have this kind of tactile combination of printed pages and drawings. I really like it. So for me, my Fomemo pocket printer is something I actually do use quite often to make art, but it is also one of the first pieces of tech that I invested in for my small business. I think the first one I bought was at the start of 2019, and I used to use it to print out address labels, but then you can also use it to print out, like say if you have an Etsy store and someone wants to write like a gift message, you can very easily just print it out with a nice note and stick it on the package. So while nowadays I use it more for my memory sketchbook, when I first bought one, it was for packaging and order fulfillment. And that brings me to our next section, which is, you guessed it, tech I use for making products and packaging in my home studio. Since we just spoke about the Memo pocket printer, I think that's a nice segue into my other label printers. If you're not new to my channel, you will probably know that I've done quite a few collaborations with Moonbin. I absolutely love them as a company, and as a result I have 3 of their laser thermal label printers. You definitely don't need 3, like 1 is plenty. I have 3 because I've done reviews for them, but I could easily do all the stuff that I do with 3 printers with 1, just putting that out there. Moonbin printers are good because again they're laser printers, and so they are waterproof. You don't have to worry about your inks smudging. I use them for postal labels, I use them for thank you stickers, and one thing I haven't used my Moonbin label printer for yet, but I do want to do it, it's always been in the back of my mind, is I want to make labels so that I can make mystery enamel pin pouches, because I very often get like B-grade products and I have so many different ones, and I think that that would be a very fun surprise mystery pin to have. If you saw my video about how I made an advent calendar, it's very similar to that. So that's something that I'm gonna put on my to-do list. I did not invest in my first label printer until 2021. I did not get a Moonbin one because I did not know that they existed. Instead, I got a Zebra one, and that Zebra one is a nightmare. I mean, once you get it set up and working, it's wonderful. You never have to touch it again. God forbid you ever change your computer. I think I spent 3 days trying to install it. It's just not worth the effort. The Moonbin ones look better and they work straight from your phone. Those are the ones I recommend. I still have both because I can't throw anything out, but you know. 2 of the most important pieces of tech in my small business studio are my crafting machines. My Cricut Maker and my LOKLIK iCRAFT. My Cricut Maker was my second investment for my small business. When I first started, I invested in a printer, a Canon Pixma, and that was in 2018. And then I think I got the Cricut at the end of 2018 or start of 2019. I used my like earliest business profits towards those machines. The Cricut Maker is amazing. I love it. The LOKLIK iCRAFT is amazing. I love it. They're both very good machines. They both do the same thing. And if you don't know what a crafting machine is, it's basically a machine that can cut shapes for you. They generally have 2 different functions. There's a just cut function and a print and cut function. The print and cut means that you can print out your own images and then the machine will cut them for you. So you can make stickers, sticker sheets, bookmarks, all things that I make here in my small studio. But then you can also use them to just cut shapes. Say for example, if you are a plushie artist and you want to cut out your plushie pattern, you can do that. I see artists cutting minky fabrics, I see them cutting felt. Possibilities are endless. I have never been in a situation where I've had a material that's too thick for my machines to cut, but that is mostly because I tend to cut paper. But I know that you can't cut materials like thick acetate and things like that. For that you need a laser printer, which I do not have, but I do want. But yeah, as I said, the Cricut Maker was one of my very first investments, and I think if you're starting a product-based business and you decide that paper-based goods is something that you want to do, like stickers or bookmarks, then a crafting machine might be something that you want to have a look at investing in. The LOKLIK iCRAFT is the newer model on the market, and I got that as a gifted collaboration. I use it for all of my sticker sheets because I like how the software handles it. I find it a bit difficult to do sticker sheets with the Cricut, but that is my personal preference. They are both very good machines. Now let's talk printers. If you are going to print stickers from home, then you will need a good printer. And good, when you're talking about printers, is a bit of a relative term. And in my experience, printers don't really go down in price as the years go on. For some reason, they just stay where they are. The technology doesn't really seem to develop that much. I guess that is the reason. When I first started out, I bought a Canon Pixma printer. Back then I had a very pastel-y, washed out aesthetic, and this printer worked really well for that. But as my art style developed and I started exploring more bold colors, and as I started adding more dark colors into my art as well, I found that my Canon Pixma was not handling those colors very well. And that is when I decided to upgrade. And my upgrade was kind of pricey, to be honest. The Epson EcoTank 8500 is the best printer I have ever used, and I recommend it. I recommend it so much. But I also know that it is a much pricier printer. So I do want to mention that Canon Pixma is still a very good printer, and it will take you very, very far. I also find that even though the printer itself was a lot more expensive, I now spend a lot less on ink, because with the EcoTank you have refillable cartridges in the printer. If you're not familiar with me or my brand, I do a lot of ocean art, a lot of river artwork and freshwater artwork, I use a lot of green and a lot of blue ink. A lot. And I used to go through like 10 or 12 blue ink cartridges every year. Now I use 1.5 bottles from the Epson EcoTank ink, which is a huge significant difference in terms of money, but also in terms of material wastage. So yeah, I highly recommend the Epson EcoTank. In terms of when I bought it, I didn't buy it until 2023. So from when I started my business in 2018 until 2023, I was using the Canon Pixma and it carried me wonderfully. We have now covered the pieces of tech that I use for the majority of my work and my time. But I do have some other ones that I absolutely love, and when I use them, they work wonderfully, but I definitely don't utilize them as much as I should. Number one is my Ariete pizza oven, and it is such a beautiful, it's called a vintage one. I feel like it's a bit more retro. It's a beautiful pizza oven, and I use it as a clay oven for my polymer clay creation. I don't do a whole lot of polymer clay anymore, but I do earrings and a few charms here and there when I'm feeling inspired, and I highly recommend it. If you're in the UK, I got it from The Range once upon a time, and I think they still carry it. And my final piece of tech that I use for products but that I don't utilize nearly enough is my LOKLIK auto heat press. I received this heat press in 2024, in summer of 2024. I had never used any kind of heat press, any kind of sublimation machine. I can barely use an iron, but this heat press was genuinely so easy to set up. So say if you know that you want to do a t-shirt sublimation, there's a setting for that already on the thing, so you can just click it. It does it for you, all done. It's super easy. It is plug and play, and if you are gonna get into like the whole sublimation thing of making your own apparel or making wall banners, posters, mouse pads, then the LOKLIK auto heat press is a very nice one to get. I have not tried other brands, I can't compare it, but I was able to use that thing and it did a perfect job on my first attempt, and I was very impressed. Final chapter, let's talk content creation and product photography. I have 2 different cameras that I use, and those are the only ones that I really film on. Number one is the one I'm using right now to film you. It is my Lumix GX5, and it is I think a mirrorless camera, but it's like a big bulky one, and it does an awesome job. It's very good. It is, however, bulky. I use the default lens, and I'm happy with it. I'm always tempted to get more lenses, but I'm just not there in my career yet where I feel like that is an investment I can do. But I've been able to get very far with just the basic lens, and I use this camera both for my YouTube videos, and I've also taken a lot of product photos with this camera. It shoots in 4K, it shoots in RAW. However, the microphone in this camera, the built-in microphone, is not very good. So I do have an external mic, and that is the Rode shotgun mic. Do I like this mic? Yes, very much. Do I think it has a very irritating battery change system? Yes, very much. But you don't have to change that battery very often, so overall it is worth it. I will say though, if I was going to invest in a vlogging camera today, Sony has their own like vlogging camera series, and I am always tempted by those. So maybe in the future that is something I will look at, but for now this camera serves me very well. It is perfect for sit-down videos like this. It is not perfect at all if you're on the go. So at times when I do need a lighter camera, which is a lot of the time because I shoot a lot of top-down videos, I actually film with my iPhone, and I have the iPhone 14 Pro Max. Felt like it came out just yesterday, but they've done several phones after that, so it couldn't have been yesterday. I just shoot in regular 4K, not Pro format, and it does a superb job. I take the majority of my product photos now with my iPhone. It's not because the iPhone does a better job. The Lumix does a better job, but the iPhone is a lot faster, and you can edit, you can bulk edit on the iPhone, which is difficult to do with raw footage on your computer. I've tried things like darkroom and bulk editing in Photoshop RAW. It's just, it doesn't do a great job, and it's a bit tedious. Whereas I find that the iPhone actually does a really good job with batch editing. Keep in mind though, I have over 1,000 individual products in my store, and I frequently reshoot my photographs in order to just keep things fresh and new. So that is why I need something that is fast and efficient, because if I was going to reshoot 1,000 different product photos with the Lumix, it would take me years or cost me an insane amount of money that I don't have. I have had some external microphones for the iPhone in the past, and the one I had in the past I do not recommend. It was capturing my S's in a way that was so sharp. However, a couple of days ago I invested in a new microphone for the iPhone. This is the Rode Wireless Micro, and apparently it's the first iPhone mic that can carry 32-bit sound, which apparently is better than other things. I don't know. I will do a separate review video for it in the future once I've played around with it more. Other than my cameras and my microphone, the only thing I really use for content creation is I occasionally use filming lights. I used to have massive filming lights all over my studio when we lived in a dark, like, attic apartment. Beautiful apartment, but it got very dark and groggy and we needed that lighting. But now we live in a more bright and sunshiny house. We get so much light in here. So for the majority of the time, I just use natural light. However, my packing station all the way in the back here does get very dark and gloomy, partially because I've been blocking it off with this printer shelf, but I need the space. So over there I do have a couple of filming lights, but they are small. They are USB connected. They're not massively bright, but they do what I need them to do, and I do recommend those. I also have a ring light, which if I'm gonna be filming more with my iPhone, I will start using again, but at the moment I don't actually use it. And using a ring light with your phone is a very easy and budget-friendly way to get started. You don't even need like an external mic. A lot of people have built their YouTube channels up to like 100,000 subscribers just using their phones. So don't let the filming equipment hold you back. And there you have it. Those are the pieces of tech that I use for my small business. And now for the end of the video, let's talk about my wish list, my top 3 wish lists for what I would like to invest in 2025. Okay, so let's start at the bottom. So number 3, a sublimation printer. If I had my own sublimation printer in my studio, I could print designs for t-shirts and use it with my auto heat press over there. I would love that. So that is wish number 3. And then in second place, we have a laser cutter. I am desperate for a laser cutter, like an xTool or any of the other brands as well. Like, they all look really good, but I do have my eye specifically on the xTool. I feel like laser cut jewelry, I feel so inspired to make it, but also it fits in very naturally with what I'm already doing. So that is my wish number 2. And then wish number 1 is a 3D printer. I love sculpting in 3D and I would love to do a whole series. I'm getting specific now. If you're not familiar with me, you'll be like, what is that? But I have this wildlife enamel pin series in my shop called Sidekicks of the Earth, and I would love to do a whole series like pin to 3D model and then printing my own desk friends and mystery toys. I would love if that was part of my future. Those are my 3 wishes for 2025. What are yours? If you enjoyed this video and you want to see more from me, please subscribe to my channel and I will see you next time. Bye!